What's up, you guys? I'm Rachel DeMita, and welcome to the Courtside Club. I normally do not upload episodes on Sundays, but today I could not pass this up. We have got to talk about the Indiana Fever versus Connecticut Sun game that just ended, where the Fever won 99-93 in overtime. Now, you guys know when the Indiana Fever and the Connecticut Sun match up against one another, we are always entertained, whether it is the good, the bad, or the ugly. And in today's game, we had a little bit of all three. It was a wild roller coaster ride from beginning, to the end. So let's jump right in. And I want to start out by just giving a shout out to the Indiana Fever. It has been a rocky road this season, to say the least. I even tweeted throughout the game, I said, this is the season from hell. I've told you guys that I feel like there is somebody, some enemy out there who has a voodoo doll of the Indiana Fever players and is just relentlessly stabbing these voodoo dolls, because it seems like they just cannot catch a break, especially when it comes to injuries. And as much as the Indiana Fever should have won this game against the Connecticut Sun, and they probably should have won without going into overtime, there were some things that they overcame in this game, and I felt like this was an emotional win for the team. Even if you saw how the players were acting on the bench, if you heard and you saw what Coach White had to say after the game about her team, this win meant something to them. And I even put as the title of my live stream today, I said must-win game. It is a must-win game because the Indiana Fever are still on the cusp of playoffs. There is still a chance that they don't even make the playoffs if they don't win some of the games that they absolutely need to win. And this game was one of them. And I want to talk about what Coach Stephanie White had to say after the game. During an interview, she said these players have something inside of them that you just can't teach. They bring it out in each other, and it allows us to get through these incredibly tough times. It gives us a chance. I'm so incredibly proud of them for continuing to believe. And that is something where I feel like the media or other players have said that the Fever have locker room issues, and we even heard that last season. It seems like this core group, since DeWanna Bonner has departed and she is no longer with the team, it seems like this group really has come together, and whether they are winning or losing, they do have a sense of togetherness. Like we've said, it's been a wild ride when it comes to injuries, when it comes to Caitlin Clark going down, their franchise player only playing a small stretch. I think it's only 13 games that she has played this season with the team. And then you talk about Ari McDonald and Sid Colson being out for the rest of the season, both of them going down in the same game. And then you look at today's game where Sophie Cunningham went out in the first half. And that was such a huge blow for the Indiana Fever, because Sophie Cunningham has been somebody, she has been the glue of this team since Caitlin has been out. She is playing so incredibly well during the second half of this season. She plays hard every single night. She's super tough. She doesn't make excuses. Like, she is somebody who has really held this team together, and seeing her go down in the first half, like, I couldn't believe it. I didn't know what it was at first when I saw her went down. So let's break down the play where Sophie got hurt. So I'm gonna put this video in 0.75 speed. So as you can see here, Bria Hartley is going baseline, Kelsey Mitchell is guarding her, and then Sophie comes over to help. And then Bria Hartley falls on her leg, and Sophie immediately grabs like her shin area. And I remember when I first saw this replay, at first I was like, oh my gosh, did she roll her ankle again? Because as we know, Sophie has rolled her ankle so many times this season. She has been battling little ankle injuries, and she has played through all of them. But then I saw that she grabbed her shin. So I'm like, okay, did she hit her hard enough to actually fracture a bone in her lower leg? So let's watch the play one more time here. Bria Hartley going to her left, dribbling to the baseline, skip passing across the lane. But with that, she gets kind of tangled up. She falls down. She falls straight into Sophie's leg. And then Sophie grabs her shin area. Now, she was on the ground. She was crying. She was yelling. It definitely seemed like she was in a ton of pain. The training staff went over to her. They went to commercial break. Like, it was a real injury. This wasn't something, and Sophie's the type of player, a lot of times when she does get injured, she just gets right back up. She tries to walk it off. This was something that kept her down, and it was so hard to see. It is ironic because Bria Hartley has been in multiple scuffles this year with the Connecticut Sun. A lot of people would categorize her as a dirty player. I will say on this play in particular, I don't think that she was doing it on purpose. I do think that she was a bit out of control when she was driving to the basket, but I think this was unfortunately just a series of unfortunate events. You see the way that Kelsey Mitchell is guarding her, pushing her to the baseline. Sophie comes over, simply for some help side defense. And then it just seems like Bria just kind of loses her balance, starts falling. She's out of control while going to the basket, and that's why she lands on Sophie's leg the way that she is. I can't honestly sit here and say that she was doing something intentional to hurt Sophie, but it just seemed like a series of unfortunate events. I do think that this right leg is the leg that Sophie was suffering a lot of these ankle injuries this year. And if you remember, she had a really bad one at the beginning of the season, and her and Caitlin were out at the same time. It looks like it is that leg. So I do wonder if there was any mobility issue in that ankle, or even with the brace that she has on, or the taping, or whatever she has on going in that ankle. If it was on so tight, or she has a brace where her ankle doesn't have the flexibility, mobility, when you get hit in the side and your knee is the only thing that is taking all of that force, that could have definitely led to that knee injury. A lot of the time when we see ACL injuries, a lot of the time it's a non-contact injury. This one was a contact injury. She will be getting an MRI on Monday, and so I don't want to speculate at this point, but we just don't know at this point. So all we can do is send Sophie our thoughts and prayers and hope that she heals up very quickly. Now, I also did want to point out that both Sophie's sister, I believe, and her mother both tweeted about this play. Now, Lindsay, her sister, said, WNBA, maybe you should focus less on fining players for commenting on your poor officiating and more about hiring officials that are able to call a consistent game and protect your athletes. Pathetic. Praying for you, Sophie. And then Paula, who I think is her mom, that's what the internet is saying, she said, Hartley is a disgruntled player, having trouble everywhere she goes. She's plain mean and plays out of control. However, just think if you are the Indiana Fever and it's just like obstacle after obstacle. And then in this game, a game that where two teams truly don't seem to like one another, one of your starters goes down, one of your leaders goes down. And after that, it did feel like the morale of the team was down for the first half, and they went into halftime being down 20 points. And I thought, I was on live, you guys heard it from me, I was like, okay, this game's done. Like, they just can't get out of it. The morale of the team is done. Seeing Sophie go down, like, maybe this team just doesn't have any fight left in them. And I was actually ready to give them a pass as well. I was like, you know what? It's been a hard season. And at some point you might just have to throw in the towel and be like, you know what? We will get after it next season. It is what it is. But in the second half, they came out a little flat in the third quarter, but then they really, really fought until the end. And there were 4 players in double digits this game. Kelsey Mitchell with 38 points, 6 assists. Odyssey Sims with 19 points and 7 assists. Natasha Howard with 18 points, 9 rebounds. And Aliyah Boston with 14 points and 13 rebounds. And I will say, honestly, I feel like Natasha Howard was probably the only player who had a strong first half. Kelsey Mitchell, she came out swinging in the second half. And Kelsey's somebody who, she has been playing so many minutes. I was even saying it on live. I was like, Kelsey is tired. Like, she just looks tired. And there was a moment even after Sophie went down that I guess the commentator said this, she like grabbed her own leg and she said, please God. Kelsey's carrying a lot of weight at this point. She is a veteran for this team. Even the last 2 losses that they've both been very close losses. And in the last game, Kelsey Mitchell couldn't hit that game-winning shot. Like, Kelsey is carrying a lot of weight, especially with Caitlin Clark being out. And so the fact that Kelsey was able to turn it on 38 points, like, they wouldn't have won this game without her. She hit so many big 3-pointers. I think she did it thoroughly exhausted. You could just kind of see in her body language. That was a willed win. That was not a win because everybody was feeling like their best selves. That was a win that came truly from heart. And I think that's something as Fever fans, like, we know that they have this in them, and we've known that they've had this in them since the beginning. And so I think that's why a lot of fans get so frustrated when the Fever lose certain games that they probably shouldn't. It's like, they have a good core group. These women like one another. They like being on the court with one another. Why can't they just get it together? Now, also, Odyssey Sims, this was the first game that she has started being with the Indiana Fever, and she took Lexi Hull's starting spot. And I can't even lie, I was a little confused on that. I was like, I don't know. I feel like you should keep Lexi in the mix. You really need her, and you're really going to need Lexi for playoffs, assuming that the Fever do make the playoffs. But Odyssey Sims stepped up big, and she had 19 points on the night. She stepped up big. She made some big plays, and it seems like she's also really finding her own in there. I also have to shout out Bree Turner, because Bree Turner came in once again in the second second half and especially in the fourth quarter, and she made some huge plays defensively. But overall, you guys, it was an ugly game. It shouldn't have gone into overtime, but it did, and the Fever were able to pull it out. So with that, like, I don't want to give negative criticism at this point in time to this team because they really have been through a lot. I did want to point out, however, that there was a tweet that Kennedy Carter sent, and a lot of people, when Ari McDonald and Sid Colson went out, there were so many fans saying like, hey, you know what? We should just sign Kennedy Carter. Sign Kennedy Carter. Who cares what happened last season with Caitlin Clark and Kennedy Carter? Just sign her, get her on this team. She's a really good point guard. Where is she? Kennedy Carter tweeted this. She said, I can't even lie. The way Kelsey hooped tonight, low key the best buckets all season. I'm looking at some of the replies here. Like, a lot of people are saying, KJ said, apologize to CC and we'll bring you in. Caitlin Clark's Stan account said, please come to the Fever. You, CC, and Kelsey would be so incredible. Nat said, we're waiting for you. KM for first team said, see you in Indy, fam. Like, there's so many. E-Money said, respect. Honestly, miss you, Kennedy. This is coming from a Fever fan. You ball like nobody else. So there was so many Fever fans in the comments like, hey, can you come to the Indiana Fever? Like, we will welcome you. And so it actually will be so interesting. Like, if that ever happened, this season is crazy enough. Honestly, anything can happen. And you guys know I've tried to be level-headed throughout this whole season. You guys know I'm an Indiana Fever fan. We cover them the most. They have the biggest fan base in the WNBA, so why wouldn't I? And I'm rooting for them. And I've tried not to crash out. I've tried to give benefit of the doubt. I've tried to stay positive through all this, but this season has been insane. You just do not know what to expect. And I've also been saying it's like the Indiana Fever, like a box of chocolates. You never know what you're going to get because one day they can be beating the Minnesota Lynx without Caitlin Clark and the Minnesota Lynx having Nafisa Collier on the floor. They're beating them in the Commissioner's Cup. And then a few weeks later, they're losing to the Dallas Wings by 1 point. And then this person's getting injured. This person's out. And so it's been a wild ride. And to close this whole episode, I do want to talk about Caitlin Clark. And unfortunately, I'm still feeling like if you guys haven't seen my whole video about Caitlin Clark's injury and my prediction on if she will return to the Fever or not, please check that out. But I think with Sophie Cunningham going down, and we will see from the MRI, again, fingers crossed, prayers that it's nothing too serious. But if it's something where it's serious enough that Sophie is out for the rest of the season, and that is what I'm predicting, I feel like that hurts our chances of seeing Caitlin back on the floor for the Indiana Fever. Having Sophie going down, even if this team picks up another player, even if they get into the playoffs, if the Fever are in that 7 or 8 spot, I don't see them making it past the first round. The odds are really stacked against them. And at this point in time, it's not like they haven't fought. They have fought really hard. They've been through a lot. They had the whole thing with DeWanna Bonner leaving. They've had Caitlin in and out. They've had injuries. They've had the media pressures. They've had so many things. I get it. At this point, I get it. And at this point, if you have Caitlin Clark as your franchise player and you want to keep her in Indiana and you want to build around her and you want to make sure that she has longevity in her career and you don't want to risk anything serious with the injuries that she already has, I just feel like with Sophie going out, with Ari out, with Sid out, it just makes the most sense to just keep her out for this season. Again, it's up to Caitlin. It's up to the medical staff. I'm sure Caitlin is itching every day. She just wants to be there. I have more thoughts about that. I do want to keep this video, though, relatively positive because I think that's what the Fever girls need at this point. They just need an off day. They need to sleep in tomorrow, and they need their fans to give them some positivity. And sorry, last thing, I totally forgot to mention, Steph White actually cried in the locker room after today's win, and they seemed like very genuine tears.
I'm so proud of you. We're proud of you too. Proud of you. I'm so proud of you guys. I know that sometimes it sounds like just a word when we talk about being resilient, but it's not, man. It's how we live. Yeah. It's how y'all live, and it's a tribute to you. It's a tribute to your connectedness, your togetherness, your toughness, your mindset. You never give up gritty attitudes. Like, that's what it takes.
And that's just a testament of the weight that this team has been carrying. And it's been like this. And so that's why, again, in this video, I want to give everyone grace. I want to give props to everyone. They pulled off the victory. They've never come back from a deficit like that. And to see Coach Steph White crying while talking to her team, you can also see that she's been carrying a lot of weight. So whether you love Coach Steph White, whether you think she's a good fit for this team, whether you would want somebody else, there's still a human element to all of this. And so I think, at least for today and at least after this win, we should give everyone grace and just keep it positive. But anyway, you guys, I just want to keep this video short and sweet. I hope you enjoyed it. Of course, let me know all of your thoughts in the comments below. Thumbs up this video if you enjoyed it, and click that little subscribe button because we upload new videos every single week. And with that, you guys, I'll see you next time. Uiana.